Good evening and welcome. You're on board the Newstrack. I'm Rahul Kanwal. The Sri Lankan president has fled the Emerald Island. What happens next? That's my top focus on the Newstrack tonight.
Frantic, unsettling island drama. Epic people's uprising in Lanka. Gotabaya flees, leaving Lanka in limbo. Rebels, tear gas and crowds. Big focus on Newstrack.
Here's a quick look on the headlines we're tracking tonight. Sri Lankan opposition parties call for Ranil Wickremesinghe's resignation after he was appointed interim president. India Today's reporters are in the crisis zone, bringing you exclusive ground reports. Rains continue to wreak havoc across 5 states. Over 80 dead in Gujarat. Situation grim in Telangana and Karnataka. Riya Chakrabarti accused of supplying and trafficking drugs by the Narcotics Control Bureau. The agency in its chart sheet says the actor pushed Sushant Singh Rajput into drug addiction. Moosewala murder mastermind Lawrence Bishnoi spills the beans on the Kill Salman plot, says he planned the hit on the Bollywood superstar in 2018 because Salman hunted sacred black bucks. Centre announces free COVID booster doses for all adults who are over 70 over the next 75 days at government centres. He was supposed to resign today, but Gotabaya Rajapaksa instead left the people of Sri Lanka in the lurch and fled to Maldives instead, triggering a massive wave of protests and renewed citizen fury. Ashutosh Mishra and Pramod Madhav are in Colombo and they file our lead story.
A revolt tearing through the teardrop-shaped island. An alluring paradise of misty plantations racked by popular rebellion. Tear gas grenades lobbed back and forth.
Multiple tear shells and air shots in the air is being fired here in Colombo. Suddenly I saw all the protesters walking. The moment they got to know that president has fled, now they're demanding Prime Minister to resign. This is the Prime Minister's office. They all started marching. There was a barricade. They're just trying to breach the barricade. Suddenly they started firing tear shells. Look at the other side. It's all multiple tear shells. This is to disperse the crowd. Look at these amount of tear shells fired here in Colombo.
Armed forces, riot police, barricades on the ground. And military helicopters clattering in the air. None able to rein in this sea of angry Sri Lankans converging on capital Colombo. A movement that began with a candlelight vigil a few months ago has resulted in the ouster of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The 73-year-old leader fled Sri Lanka for the Maldives with his wife and 2 security guards. His brother and former finance minister Basil Rajapaksa has also reportedly fled Sri Lanka. A dynasty that dominated Sri Lanka's politics for 20 years has fallen to this mass uprising. But that offers no solace to the revolting Sri Lankans. They want a complete overhaul of their country's political leadership. The crisis worsened when Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe took over as acting president and declared a state of emergency. Protesters broke through more barriers and security and stormed his office as well. Rajapaksa and his allies, Wickremesinghe included, have been blamed for bankrupting this country. That's how the rebelling Sri Lankans pushed back against their president, seized his palace, lounged in its beds, dipped in its ornate pool, and on Wednesday, protesters took over Sri Lanka's state-run television media, an iconic broadcast from Sri Lanka's TV station Rupavahini. A demonstrator taking over the role of a television anchor, making a bold statement about relaying only protest-related news. The channel went off air soon after. A revolt with no smooth resolution for whosoever rules Sri Lanka next. With Ashutosh Mishra and Pramod Madhav in Colombo, Bureau Report, India Today.
Our reporters Pramod Madhav and Ashutosh Mishra are at ground zero in the middle of the raging crowds as tear gas shells are being fired around them and as protesters storm into government buildings. This duo has been reporting relentlessly and fearlessly. Here's how our reporters saw the unsettling drama unfold today in Sri Lanka's capital.
Thousands of angry Lankans hitting the streets, marching, chanting, protesting, heading to the Prime Minister's house, scaling boundary walls, storming into the Prime Minister's office.
So first it was the President's Secretariat, then the President's Palace, and then the Prime Minister's home, and now finally it is the Prime Minister's office as well. Protesters are occupying the Prime Minister's office. This amidst armed guards, heavily armed guards are also here for our protection and to make sure nothing untoward occurs. But this is a lawn of the President's office which is completely filled with public and protesters from Galface.
The march was marred by crackdown by forces who fired tear gas shells and opened fire in the air, leading to chaotic scenes and riot-like situation. India Today reporters tracked those developments from the crisis zone, braving tear gas shells.
You know, the police is firing on the protesters. They were suddenly started marching toward the Prime Minister's residence. Multiple tear shells and air gun. You know, the shots in the air is being fired here in Colombo. Suddenly I saw all the protesters walking. The moment they got to know that President has fled, now they're demanding Prime Minister to resign. This is the Prime Minister's office. They all started marching. There was a barricade. They're just trying to breach the barricade. Suddenly they started firing tear shells. Look at the other side. It's all multiple tear shells. This is to disperse the crowd.
The state of emergency announced by the acting president failed to deter protesters.
But since they have crossed the Prime Minister's office, the next is the Parliament, barely few steps from here. These protesters trying to enter the Parliament, and there you see the huge convoy of the cops. That's the entire fleet of the Colombo Club, the local police station. But again, you see, without arm, without baton, and they are watching these protesters moving, and clearly this seems to be the silent support.
Protests in the streets of Colombo still continues. Here they are holding a march, not just a simple march. They are also carrying the shields in front of them to symbolically say that they are here, and not just that. This is the same place where multiple rounds of tear gas were fired upon them to disperse them. Still the crowd is coming over and they are protesting row after row, demanding that not just Gotabaya but Ranil Wickremesinghe, also the acting Prime Minister or President, also resigned.
Large number of commandos from the Lankan security forces were seen being on standby, fearing escalation in violence.
The crowd has totally overpowered the armed forces. There you see the special task force of the Sri Lankan police, totally armed with the gear, but none of them using force. And this is clearly a go-ahead to the protesters. They have refused to take hard action against these protesters.
Lankan Air Force choppers were seen doing low aerial sorties, keeping track of the evolving situation. Protesters are adamant over ouster of the current dispensation, continuing the siege at the President's house, the Prime Minister's office and Galface, the National Secretariat.
When we started walking with these protesters, all of a sudden it was spontaneous reaction. There were only few hundred. Suddenly it became few thousand. And now I cannot recall the numbers here. Just more than 700-800 meter, this entire stretch, 70, 80 feet, the width of this road, and that's totally crowded. That's one after one. It is really becoming difficult for the armed forces to control the crowd. Everyone just trying to enter, the protesters trying to enter the Prime Minister's office, the soldiers there, the army there, the Air Force commandos there, the STF there. They're trying to disperse the crowd.
We are at the Prime Minister's office lane. Still now, the chaos is continuing because of the one information that the Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has been now appointed as the acting president. In fact, the situation escalated so much that Ranil Wickremesinghe had to go ahead and say that he will be only the acting president until 20th of July or so, until an all-party government is formed, and that clarity will be provided. But for now, after several hours of struggle, the people of Sri Lanka, the protesters, have entered the Prime Minister's office on its lawn, along with the people who are still protesting against Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Ranil Wickremesinghe.
With the island nation facing its worst crisis ever, who will bring the country out of turmoil? With Ashutosh Mishra and Pramod Madhav, Bureau Report, India Today.
Pramod Madhav joins us now. He's been doing a stellar job trying to capture the unfolding situation in Sri Lanka. Pramod, what happens next? The president's gone. He didn't quite resign. At least there is no resignation in the public domain. How is the process of trying to get opposition parties together to form a coalition government coming along?
Well, Rahul, not just the president, but also the Prime Minister doesn't look like he has resigned. And that is the reason the whole chaos broke out today right in front of the Prime Minister's office. In fact, we are currently inside the Prime Minister's office, and this is the situation over here. Armed guards at every other location, making sure that no untoward incident occurs. But at the same time, public has also been provided access. And here is the place I'm going to show you is the actual Prime Minister's office. And there on top of the wall, you could see the pictures of the all Prime Ministers, starting with Ranil Wickremesinghe over there. And then also on the other corner, you will see Mahinda Rajapaksa's picture, Ranil Wickremesinghe's picture, again Mahinda Rajapaksa's picture. So this is continuously happening, and this is one of the places where the discussions by the Prime Minister was held. Apparently is the Prime Minister's office, and now after 4 hours of struggle in the morning, access has been provided to the people. Yet the confusion, just like you asked, is that even now we are getting information that the heads of the tri-forces have also asked Ranil Wickremesinghe to resign, but apparently there is no information from the acting president's office. He became acting president today morning, and for one reason alone, the public have still occupied this particular place. They are over here, and they earlier also, when we spoke to them, they said that they are not going to leave this place until Ranil Wickremesinghe resigns. On his hand, he is trying to give an explanation that he is trying to fight fascist forces. That's the term he used, and that's the reason he says that until an all-party government is formed, he will not resign. Public are not ready to accept it, because here they are very clearly stating that unless and until Ranil Wickremesinghe and Gotabaya resign, their country will not have a solution. So that way, it is a stale movement here. But for now, the public and the protesters here claim that until these two resign, they will not leave this place, Rahul.
Thanks, Pramod. We'll come back to you for more later. The defining image of the Sri Lankan crisis has been the siege of government buildings and official residences. Pramod was, in fact, reporting from one of them. Today, it was the Sri Lankan Prime Minister's office that was at the center of the storm.
Hours after Ranil Wickremesinghe was appointed interim president of Sri Lanka, angry citizens stormed the Prime Minister's office in Colombo. It started with them waving flags at the foyer of the building.
The Prime Minister, who was still the Prime Minister till morning, Ranil Wickremesinghe, was then made the acting president, and this did not go well with the public, who immediately decided to storm into the Prime Minister's office. Not just that, there were reports that some of the protesters were attacked by other security forces here as well. That escalated the situation. On one side, army only deployed tear gases and nothing much, but that also turned into a chaotic issue. Protesters were actually well prepared for this. They brought in roadside cones, they brought in water bottles, and row after row, no matter how many times they had to face the tear gases here, they did not budge, they entered.
Within minutes, thousands of protesters were inside the Sri Lankan Prime Minister's office.
Protesters are occupying the Prime Minister's office. This amidst armed guards, like heavily armed guards are also here for protection and to make sure nothing untoward occurs. But this is a lawn of the President's office, which is completely filled with public and protesters from Galface who came here after several rounds, even after several rounds of tear gas were flashed. Hit on them. They did not budge. They did keep coming again and again. After nearly 4 hours of struggle, they finally took over the Prime Minister's office as well.
With the Sri Lankan forces moving, the siege of the Sri Lankan PM office continued, but peacefully. Taking over government symbols of power has been a defining image of this new wave of protest in Sri Lanka. On Saturday, furious protesters set the Prime Minister's private residence on fire. The same day, they had stormed into the presidential palace, dipping in the pool, slam dunking in the presidential suits, and even posing on the president's seat. With Pramod Madhav in Colombo, Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining us now, live and exclusive from Colombo, is the man who revolutionized one-day batting. The explosive batting that you see in T20 was started by Sanath Jayasuriya back in the World Cup for one-day internationals, and he now joins us live on India Today, one of the most iconic Sri Lankans alive. Mr. Jayasuriya, welcome to India Today. This is a very troublesome time for you individually and for the people of Sri Lanka, and I think I speak for all Indians when we say we're looking very carefully at what's happening, and the people of Sri Lanka are in our thoughts all the time. So thank you for joining us. I want to start by asking you, Sanath, about the departure of President Rajapaksa in the way that he did, this sudden move to Maldives, from there seeking asylum in Sri Lanka. When you were seeing the build-up, the protests happening out in the streets of Colombo over the last several weeks and months, did you anticipate that this is the way it would end for one of the most powerful political families in Sri Lanka?
No, I never thought it will happen like this. We all was thinking that he will resign and remain in our country. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And he has left the country early this morning to Maldives. And then thereafter, he will go to another country, which we don't know at the moment. So it's a very sad day because the Sri Lankans, the protesters, been protesting for last about several months now. And for why we do that is everyone has seen, and I think you all have been seeing, and what's going on in my country, the current fuel prices and electricity, also gas issue, the health issues, everything is there in my country in the last few months. So unfortunately, the things what the people wanted is not there. So the people have been absorbing all the pressure for a longer period. And they started after a very long time, and people have come out on the street and start protesting. So the protesting is very peaceful one. It's not non-violence. So that is why people have been protesting peacefully. So they will continue peaceful protest. And the 9th of July became to another level, and they all went into the President Palace and the President Secretariat, also the temple trees, and demanding that President and Prime Minister should resign. So unfortunately, still that didn't happen, even though they promised on the 3rd.
At this moment, there's no electricity, there's no fuel. The people of Sri Lanka very badly off. What do you think should be the next step? There's talk of the opposition coming together to form a government. Who would you like to see as the new Prime Minister and President? What do you think happens from here?
The thing is, it's up to the Speaker and the all party leaders to come up and make a stable government for a few months with a cabinet. So then the international community will see that our country is stable. Then only the international community will come and help Sri Lanka, because we need help at the moment, because only India did it earlier on and giving us about more than $4 billion to Sri Lanka to come out of this crisis, but still we couldn't. So we need other countries' help also to come out of this crisis.
Sure. No, but in terms of the opposition coming together, because the critical question is what Ranil Wickremesinghe was trying to do is essentially what the new government will also have to try and build on. So what is it that you're expecting? Because a lot of these protesters are saying they don't want anybody who's been in power in the past to be a part of the future. They want a new government of new faces. But how will this be different from what the Wickremesinghe government is trying to do?
The thing is, the protesters first, they asked President to resign, and also the protesters want Prime Minister to resign. So at the moment, no one has resigned. Even the President has not given the letter of resignation yet. So this is why the protests start today. So I think the people want to see the resignation first. So it has not happened yet. So this is why the people are waiting. Then even whatever the government, the speaker was talking with the other party leaders, and for that the talking with the other parties, the protesters also can get involved on their views. It's not harm getting them involved and getting their thoughts into our system, because it's not any harm. So I hope the speaker and the party leaders, even other party leaders, the Muslims, Tamil party leaders, we all need to get together in this moment, because we can't divide, fight for individual positions, will not help Sri Lanka. This is a team game you need to come out with. You can't play individually. Come out and play their own role and perform it out. So they need to come as a team and perform.
When you were batting, you were a thorn in India's flesh quite often, and we didn't particularly like that very much. But in a sense, you're one of the most beloved Sri Lankans in India, and huge recall and popularity. Can you tell our viewers how life has been for you individually and for people around you over the last few days?
I think I've been here properly, but what I think what you said was around my.
How's life been for you? How's life been for you? Shortages, price rise, and for people around you. Just describe what life's been like for Sanath Jayasuriya.
It's been very difficult. Telling you the truth, it's very, very difficult for the Sri Lankans, including myself. It's not very easy. The people are in queues for 4 or 5 days for fuel and for gas. So essential, like the medicines, running out of medicines in mostly the government hospitals. So it's very difficult. That is why I said we need politicians to get together and come up with a plan and give that confidence to the people. The people doesn't have confidence in politicians anymore. So they need to make that confidence. So I hope the speaker and the all party leaders come up with a plan, team plan, and work for the Sri Lankan people. For 22 million people are suffering.
Okay, you also spoke about help from other countries. For those watching in India and from our government, Sanath, what is it that you'd like to ask for or suggest on behalf of the Lankan people?
What we were discussing all this time, that we know whoever the stable government comes, they should have a plan to go to the international the community. So we know that we don't have fuel, we don't have gas, we don't electricity issues, medicine. So they need to come up with a plan to go to international community and ask from the international community. So not I am asking from international. I can say that we need this, we don't have fuel. So I'm not in the government, but we are putting pressure to the government, come up with a plan and tell the people and what we are doing, this is what we are doing. So then the international community will come and help Sri Lanka.
Is there a sense of betrayal that you feel from China? The fact that all these vanity projects in terms of ports, airports were built with no clear return on investment, no economic utility, leading to a debt spiral for which Sri Lanka is paying for with these very grave consequences.
Yeah, but the thing is now we no point we are talking about what we had in the past. Now you can't do anything. But we know that they have got a big loans from China, we got loans from India, we got a lot of things from all the countries. But the thing is now, presently, what the protesters is asking, the stable place, the stable politicians who can take out this critical situation out of hand and get the people a better life for Sri Lankans.
Lastly, I've been reading a lot of reports about Jayasuriya toying with the idea of getting into politics, Jayasuriya rejecting the idea of getting into politics. Do you think this is a moment where someone like you should really pad up, go out on the political pitch and bat for Lanka?
I'm a civilian in Sri Lanka, that's all. I'm a civilian.
Okay, I leave it over there. Sanath Jayasuriya, for joining us, for being as direct and candid as you always are. Thank you very much. And as I said earlier, everyone very worried about what's happening in Lanka and hoping that in our neighborhood, in the Emerald Islands, peace and tranquility prevails very quickly. What do you think should happen to the Rajapaksa family? Do you think they should pay for their crimes? They fled. Do you think they need to pay for landing Sri Lanka in the mess that it's ended up in?
Yeah, but not only me, everyone have been saying that because the mismanagement is where we are now. So this is the people, that's how people think. That is what the protesters are thinking. That is what the Sri Lankan communities think. So the thing is now, we can do all the things now later. We can discuss all these things, what they have done previously, we can do that. But my thing is, as a Sri Lankan, as a civilian of my country, for us to come out of this situation, we need to come up with a plan, the politician presently. So we need a quick, short-term plan and to save our people in this country.
Sanath Jayasuriya, for joining us in India today, thank you very much. We wish you and your people all the very best. Thank you, sir. The man in the middle of this storm, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, fled from Sri Lanka in the early hours this morning. He's now in Maldives and has taken refuge with his family at the plush Waldorf Astoria, where a single room costs between 4 to 7 lakh Indian rupees a night. Reports suggest that Gotabaya is now seeking asylum in Singapore.
A shameful fall from strength for one of Sri Lanka's most powerful presidents, hunted, cornered, and taking refuge in the cover of darkness. Rumored for days to have fled the country, Gotabaya Rajapaksa finally confirmed local suspicions. He quietly boarded a military aircraft late on Tuesday night and fled his burning country. As protesters slept, 4 days into the country's biggest uprising against the Rajapaksa family, the president secretly smuggled himself out of Sri Lanka and flew to Maldives with 5 family members and 3 staffers. Last heard, they're being kept protected at a resort near the Malé airport and could be preparing for an onward escape to another country, possibly Singapore.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Parliament.
Reason?
इसका अंदर वो रखेगा ना वो उन लोगों को पूरा गंदा आदमी है।
आज किस बात की नाराजगी है आप लोगों में?
वो जाएगा बोलेगा, आज जाएगा बोलेगा। अभी 3 दिन हुआ उसको घर पूरा में लगा
और उन्होंने इस्तीफा नहीं दिया।
उसको जाएगा बोला, अभी उसका नाम कभी तो नहीं है। उसको बाहर में किधर मालूम नहीं।
लगता है सरकार ने भगाया उनको यहाँ से।
सरकार में भगाया, वो छुपा के रखेगा।
इस बात की नाराजगी है आपको?
इस बात की नाराजगी वो जाएगा बोला, क्यों आज अभी तक जाएगा नहीं है।
President Gotabaya had earlier conveyed that he would be resigning on Wednesday, but his stealthy escape in the darkness has thrown that plan in question too, with Ranil Wickremesinghe being appointed interim president. The Lankan parliament is scheduled to resume on July the 16th. Fresh elections will be held on July the 20th to elect a new president, the nominations for which will be held on July the 19th. But the president, who hasn't resigned yet, has fled with his family, unwilling to remain and face the consequences of his rule. In fact, Gotabaya has not been seen in public since last Friday. He fled his official residence in Colombo's maximum security Temple Trees area on July the 9th, moments before thousands of protesters broke through police barricades and stormed the VIP compound. Once the ruthless face of the crackdown on the LTTE and a brave new Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa is now cowering for safety, far from his furious citizens. A steeper fall from grace cannot be imagined. With Pramod Madhav and Ashutosh Mishra in Colombo, Bureau Report, India Today.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa is hiding in a resort in the Maldives while the future of Lankan citizens hangs in balance. This is exactly why there is so much rage against the Rajapaksas. They've been accused of siphoning billions of public funds, hoarding expensive art and maintaining luxury homes, and relying more on astrologers than genuine policymakers.
The Maldives are just 760 kilometers across the sea from Colombo. By air, it's an hour and 20 minutes by flight. That's the time it took for Gotabaya Rajapaksa to turn from being Sri Lanka's president to a fugitive on the run. How the mighty fall. The man who with his family ruled Sri Lanka with an iron fist for over 2 decades and lived an extra grand life, had to finally take a rough and turbulent ride in a Soviet-era Antonov aircraft to the Maldives. The once all-powerful Gotabaya left behind a country in chaos, and his escape on a military plane saw anger exploding once again on the streets. But thanks to friends in the Maldives, Gotabaya and his family got the chance to live in the lap of luxury. Cooped up in an ultra-luxury 5-star island resort where the cheapest room goes for $5,900 and the costliest about $8,760. The rich comfort in which the Rajapaksas are living is what is causing fury on Colombo's streets, where people are without fuel, food and medicines. The Rajapaksas have been accused of siphoning billions from public funds, hoarding expensive art and maintaining luxury homes. This even as Gotabaya and the rest of the Rajapaksas led their country into bankruptcy. A dynasty that held the country in its grip, the Rajapaksas are singularly to blame for Lanka having today to live off global handouts. The Rajapaksas ruled with brazen nepotism. First Mahinda Rajapaksa running it as both president and prime minister, and then Gotabaya taking charge as president in 2019. Other important portfolios were spread out within the family. The Rajapaksas are fiercely superstitious. Astrology has played a bigger role in decision-making than sane advice given by policymakers. Gotabaya Rajapaksa's advisor and confidant is in fact not a policy strategist but a famed astrologer. Ironically, it was this astrologer that predicted a tumultuous end to the Rajapaksas' 2-decade rule in Sri Lanka. Gotabaya may have run from a fractured nation, but its troubles are far from over. Lankan citizens are adamant that the Rajapaksas must pay for their crimes once the country's economy is brought back on the rails. Bureau Report, India Today.
All eyes now are on Sri Lanka's main opposition leader, Sajith Premadasa. He says he's ready to be part of the all-party interim government and has thrown his hat into the ring to run for the Sri Lankan presidency. Here is Sajith Premadasa in an exclusive conversation with India Today's Foreign Affairs editor, Geeta Mohan.
This is an India Today exclusive. even as the country of Sri Lanka is on the brink of collapse, and people are in the streets of Colombo seeking justice and answers as to why the financial crisis and why are they suffering in the manner in which they are. I'm being joined by opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, who is also heading the JVB alliance. He's pitched in to become the next president of Sri Lanka, and we'll have to wait and see what comes about with regards to this new entrant in the race. Many thanks for joining us here on India Today, sir.
Thank you. You're too kind.
My first question to you is, what's the way forward? There have been no resignations or signs of resignation, but what's the procedure? Will the Speaker take over or the Prime Minister? And on 20th of July, when there is voting, what will your stand really be? Are you now pitching to be the new president of Sri Lanka?
Well, right now in Sri Lanka, you have extreme and absolute political gridlock. The request of the majority of the country is for both the president and the prime minister to resign, and for a new all-party government to be set up on an interim basis. Constitutionally, when both the president and the prime minister resigns, it is the speaker who becomes the acting president. So there is constitutional provision for both those people to resign and for the country to go ahead with the constitutional processes which will ultimately decide the destiny of the country. What is actually happening right now is, as far as we know, right at this very moment, the president says he's resigning, but he hasn't done so, and he has gone abroad. The prime minister is claiming to be the acting president on the basis of a statement made by the speaker. I, for myself, have not seen a written letter so far at this very moment where the president has appointed the prime minister as the acting president. So what you have right now is a virtual anarchy, an anarchical society in Sri Lanka. Anarchy is reigning. So in this particular situation, what is most important is for constitutionality to be implemented. The constitutional procedures, provisions should be enacted. But what we see is a group of politicians using various arbitrary methodologies for their own political survival.
You speak of anarchy, Mr. Premadasa, and we see the trust deficit among the people. With that, do you think you can manage the numbers when voting really takes place? Because you are now in minority, you are in the opposition, but also you do not have the numbers when it comes to votes.
The present parliamentary composition is a reflection of the people's opinions in August 2020, when the general elections were held. The executive president today reflects the opinion in 2019 November. So right now, the executive president and the parliament, both these institutions, do not reflect the views of the people, the opinions and the aspirations of the people. This is where the dysfunctionalism emanates from. This is where the problem is.
He's a key man who could have an important role to play in the new scheme of things in Sri Lanka. You can watch that full interview with Geeta Mohan on India Today and on our digital properties. We're slipping into a quick break. When we come back, incessant rains continue to wreak havoc across 5 states. Detailed ground report coming up next.
आ गई। कैसा रहा दिन?
बहुत अच्छा।
कोई वीडियो गेम कवर करने गई थी ना?
वीडियो गेम नहीं माँ, ई-स्पोर्ट्स।
ई-स्पोर्ट्स?
माँ, e-sports is just like any other competitive sport. इसमें ना वो सब फीलिंग्स है जो किसी भी और स्पोर्ट्स में है। इसमें इमोशन है, इसमें एंगर है, इसमें सैडनेस है, इसमें हैप्पीनेस है, इसमें कमराडरी है। ये सिर्फ गेम नहीं, ये ई स्पोर्ट्स का प्रीमियर लीग ESPL है।
You are watching India Today.
At 9 p.m. on the news today with me, Rajdeep Sardesai. Sri Lanka's situation has gone from bad to worse. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has fled the country. Ranil Wickremesinghe takes over as acting president, but the protesters are unrelenting and the protests have intensified. We'll have ground reports and expert analysis on the big story from Colombo. Also, the Common University entrance test for college exams has sparked off a controversy. Is this the right way to ensure the best admission for college students? And we'll have reports from all the flooded areas of the country. All that and much more on the news today.
You're on board the Newstrack. As many as 8 people have died after a wall collapsed because of incessant rainfall in Gujarat. Thousands of people have been affected by the flood-like situation in the state. The situation is also grim in Maharashtra, Telangana and Karnataka as well.
Monsoon fury across India. From Himachal Pradesh to Kerala, monsoon mayhem has swept many states of the country. Incessant rainfall is leading to flood-like situation. It has been raining continuously in Maharashtra's Nagpur for the last 48 hours. Rivers in the region are in spate. The Ambajari barrage is overflowing and 3 shutters have now been opened. Water is being released from the Chatakpur and Haranbari dam, leading to flooding of low-lying areas in Nashik. Eight people are dead after a wall collapsed due to incessant rainfall in Gujarat. The heavy downpour wreaking havoc in several areas of Gujarat, including Jalalpur and Navsari. 4 shutters of the RG2 dam in Rajkot were also opened to manage the inflow. People staying in low-lying areas are being evacuated and rushed to safer places. In the state of Uttar Pradesh, many towns including Bijnor are facing waterlogging on the streets after a heavy rainfall. In Bijnor, police posts, schools and roads are inundated. The hill town of Manali in district Kullu saw heavy downpour last night. This bus station in the popular tourist destination is flooded with water from the nearby drains and streams are flowing in. Bureau Report, India Today.
Moosewala murder mastermind Lawrence Bishnoi spilled the beans about the Kill Salman Khan plot. The gangster says he planned a hit on the Bollywood superstar in 2018 because Salman hunted the black buck.
The killers of Sidhu Moosewala had the Bollywood on their crosshair firmly. Gangster Lawrence Bishnoi, who allegedly did the Moosewala hit, has now dropped a bombshell, admitting that he plotted in 2018 to kill the superstar of the film industry, Salman Khan, to teach the actor a lesson for killing black bucks, the animal that is sacred to the Bishnoi community in Rajasthan. Singing in Punjab police custody, Bishnoi revealed he had sent gangster Sampath Nehra to eliminate Salman Khan in Mumbai. The plot to kill Salman Khan fell through as Sampath did not have a high-caliber spring rifle and had only a pistol for the hit job. India Today earlier exclusively accessed the brazen threat letter to Salman Khan and the family, which read, "Aapko Moosewala kar denge." We had also aired Bishnoi's open threat to kill Salman Khan back in 2018.
जब हम करेंगे तो पता लग ही जाएगा सलमान खान का करेंगे मारेंगे यहीं जोधपुर में मारेंगे तो पता लग जाएगा इनको अभी तो मैंने कुछ किया ही नहीं अभी नहीं मतलब कोई इन्वॉल्व कर रहे हैं
After India Today's news break on Moosewala's murder case, a major crackdown came from the Delhi police. Cops arrested the accused who arranged fake passports for gangster Bishnoi's brother and nephew, helping them to flee India just ahead of Moosewala's killing. Bishnoi's close aide Vikramjit Brar, a Rajasthan-based gangster, also fled to Dubai in June 2018 with the help of a fake passport, which he got made in Chandigarh. Vikram Brar's name had surfaced in the plot to get Salman Khan killed. Sources say Brar has also been plotting to threaten other Bollywood celebrities, including director Karan Johar, and extort money from them while he sat in Dubai.
Delhi police has busted the fake passport module that had helped Lawrence Bishnoi's associate Sachin Thapan escape the country after planning the murder of Sidhu Moosewala. Now, they had done this after attaining fake documents and also exploiting the Tatkal passport scheme, post which he fled the country a month before the murder was done. Additionally, Vikram Brar, who's behind the threat of Salman Khan, had also similarly obtained fake passport from Chandigarh and escaped the country. With video journalist Satya, this is Shreya Chatterjee for India.
This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here, goodbye, good night.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. You are...
Tonight at 9 p.m. on the news today with me, Rajdeep Sardesai. Sri Lanka's situation has gone from bad to worse. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has fled the country. Ranil Wickremesinghe takes over as acting president, but the protesters are unrelenting and the protests have intensified. We'll have ground reports and expert analysis on the big story from Colombo. Also, the Common University entrance test for college exams has sparked off a controversy. Is this the right way to ensure the best admission for college students? And we'll have reports from all the flooded areas of the country. All that and much more on the news today.
If you have still not linked your PAN card and Aadhaar card, if you are a cryptocurrency investor, if you are a social media influencer or a doctor, listen up closely because there are additional taxes and extra penalties being imposed on you. Here are 3 major changes to the income tax rules. So as per guidelines, linking your PAN card and Aadhaar card is mandatory. The last date to do this was 31st March. After that, a fine of ₹500 was imposed to link your PAN and Aadhaar till 30th June. Now, 1st July onwards, that fine has been doubled. So now you'll have to pay ₹1,000 to link your PAN and Aadhaar. If you've still not done it, you can visit the income tax e-filing portal to do so. A flat 30% tax was introduced on cryptocurrency transactions. Now, an additional 1% TDS has been introduced on cryptocurrency transactions, regardless of whether the investor has made a loss or a gain on that transaction. Now, here's the catch. The investor can claim a refund of this TDS, but only on those transactions in which he or her incurred a loss. So basically what it means is that if you want to claim a refund on that TDS, you'll have to file an ITR on cryptocurrency transactions. So if you are a doctor or a social media influencer, this part is going to be most relevant to you. A new section, 194R, has been inserted into the Income Tax Act of 1961. Basically what it states is that a 10% TDS has been imposed on the benefits which are received by doctors and social media influencers. By benefits, they're basically referring to freebies, gifts, and sales promotion packages. Now, this 10% will be levied only if the cost of that benefit exceeds ₹20,000 in a single financial year. Now, private doctors will be required to pay 10% TDS. If you are a doctor who's employed by a private hospital, then that 10% TDS will be levied on to the hospital that you're working for. And if you are a government doctor, then that 10% TDS is not applicable.
I don't read the news. I read between the lines to tell you the true version of events, the true story of our times.
To document grief, the toughest assignment for any journalist to be.
From those who matter.
Women politicians going to stick up for each other.
Of those who should matter. I document the truth. I don't distort the truth. I don't glamorize the truth. I don't gloss over the truth.
The ghosts of India's contentious medieval history have come knocking again.
I hustle for the truth. On the ground, in the newsroom, in the studio. I don't try to grab eyeballs.
I inform you to make you see the point.
To the point with Preeti Chaudhary. At these times, only on India Today.
Tonight at 9 p.m. on the News Today with me, Rajdeep Sardesai. Sri Lanka's situation has gone from bad to worse. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has fled the country. Ranil Wickremesinghe takes over as acting president, but the protesters are unrelenting and the protests have intensified. We'll have ground reports and expert analysis on the big story from Colombo. Also, the common university entrance test for college exams has sparked off a controversy. Is this the right way to ensure the best admission for college students? And we'll have reports from all the flooded areas of the country. All that and much more on the News Today.
Presented by Aditya Birla Capital. Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Co-presented by JK Tyre Ranger Series. Stay wild at heart.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the News Today, your primetime destination news, newsmakers, talking points, news without the noise but with knowledge. That's what we try and do on the News Today. We'll bring you all the latest on the emergency in Sri Lanka, ground reports and more. Also, mission admission. That's right, the new common university entrance test for all college students in central universities. Is that really the solution to India's mission admission? That and more on the News Today. But first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa of Sri Lanka flees his country, escapes with family to Maldives. Protesters take over the Prime Minister's office. No sign of the anger waning. Sri Lanka's President Ranil Wickremesinghe takes over as acting Prime Minister, declares an emergency. Opposition rejects his appointment, demands his resignation and the formation of a new government. Rains continue to wreak havoc across 5 states, over 80 dead in Gujarat. Situation remains grim in Maharashtra, Telangana and Karnataka. COVID cases on the rise once again. Centre announces free booster doses for all adults for the next 75 days at government centres. Actor Riya Chakrabarti, accused of supplying and trafficking drugs by the NCB in its charge sheet, claims the actor pushed her boyfriend Sushant Singh Rajput into drug addiction. The rupee hits a record low for the 3rd straight session as foreign investors continue to dump riskier assets. Rupee moves closer to 80 to the dollar. Twitter takes Elon Musk to court for pulling out of his proposed $44 billion acquisition, accuses Musk of thrashing the company and destroying shareholder value. After a career-best haul of 6 for 19 against England, Indian pacer Jasprit Bumrah regains the top spot in the ICC men's ODI rankings of bowlers. And a day after NASA releases stunning infrared images of the universe, the James Webb Telescope detects water on a distant planet located 1,150 light years away. But tonight's evening big breaking story is coming from neighbouring Sri Lanka, where now reports suggest that the Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa may now flee to Singapore from Maldives, where he is at the moment. Remember, last night the President had left for Maldives. Now we are told he may move to Singapore. The opposition is demanding, meanwhile, the resignation of Ranil Wickremesinghe, who's acting President. He took over after the army was asked to step in and an emergency was declared.